Welcome to Johnny's Bite. On Tuesday, the Vice President of the Republic, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who's now being championed and trumpeted as the king of digitalization, he had held a fireside conversation at the Ashesi University at Brekusu and had indicated a number of things that had been done by government under his watch and that of the President Akufo-Addo. The success stories that had come up and the focus on what needs to be done going forward, how we need to leverage on technology and plug in. Yesterday, I told you about some of the questions that had hit my mind. I've seen others also raising key concerns about what the Vice President has said, whether they were factual, whether they were truthful, whether they were not, and all of that. Now, I want us to start from a think tank that does research. They have done some bit of a research as to how the public received the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia's speech as was delivered at the Ashesi University some time ago. First, so Danny, let's go into the folder so we can check out how the Vice President of the Republic's speech was received by the people regarding his public speech. Okay, so that's it. This is from H.A. Sikanko and his team, and this is what they say. They say that the Vice President, the Center for Public Discourse Analysis, by the way, public reaction to Vice President Bawumia's speech on transforming an economy through digitization, the Ghana story. It's ranked on a scale of 100. Now, mockery of the speech. You had more than 30% of the people mocking Bawumia's speech. You had just about 30% of Ghanaians praising his speech. You had more than 30% of the people saying that Dr. Bawumia lied. And that, for me, is quite worrying that we would say that our Vice President is not altogether truthful. I find it unpalatable, at least. But that's what the public believe. They think that he lied. That's 10.0% believe that he lied. Now, let's look at the insult and uncivil discourse. It shot up all the way to the top. Uncivil discourse, that's not too good. It doesn't look too good. Those who were displeasured or those who were not happy about it, there was elements of surprise. There was politics that was thrown into it. There's also the people who are tired of speeches and many of these fora. And then the support of for the initiatives, you find them, the 18.8%, the total, that's 100 there. Well, now, we will move out of this corner and get into some other detail. The Vice President on this particular occasion spoke about health, right? He spoke about health and the digitization agenda within the health space. That's what the Vice President spoke about. I want to quickly go to paragraph 80 or so, where the Vice President had spoken extensively about what was happening within the health sector. And I will share with you why the Vice President's speech, for me, is a bit surprising within the health sector. Because you know that sometime in April, we had launched what we call the COVID-19 Tracker app. Okay? COVID-19 Tracker app. It was launched on the Easter Monday. And for those who believe in Jesus Christ, and I know that most of the people who had a Tracker app launch believe in Jesus Christ. And I also do know that the Vice President himself has had cause to go to many churches to worship with them. So he believes that the birth and resurrection of Christ is very crucial. On this particular occasion, that's on Tuesday, what did the Vice President say about the COVID-19 Tracker app? He didn't breathe a word about it. And I want to demonstrate that to you quickly, what the Vice President of the Republic had said. Let's go to 80. Okay. So now it says digitization improving, digitization improving the efficiency of healthcare delivery. This is what the Vice President says. Now, he talks about records. He also goes on to talk about connection and health facilities to the Ghana Health Service on one digital platform. He talks about you being referred and not having to wait for your folder. He talks about National Health Insurance Scheme. That's it right there. National Health Insurance Scheme. He talks about medical drones. Okay. The Vice President also talks about we being the second country after Rwanda to implement the delivery of medical supplies to the remote areas through drones. He speaks about that. Now, the Vice President goes on and talks about so many other things, e-pharmacy and whatnot. But the Vice President was very, 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 very silent on the COVID-19 app that he himself had launched. Let me take you back to April 2020. at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Mind you, on the 11th of March 2020, the President of the Republic had announced some 100 million cedis. You remember that, to help fight the COVID-19. He said it was our preparedness or our preparation plan or our ready plan for the COVID-19 fight. Then on the 12th of March, we were hit with 2 first cases. So the question that has been on many minds is that, did the president already know per his security briefings on a daily basis that we already had COVID-19 in the country, which was why he gave us that COVID-19 fund a day before the first 2 cases were announced by the Ghana Health Service? I don't know. But we're just asking questions this morning on Johnny's Bite. Now, let me take you back to April, because the cases happened in March. And then in April, the vice president was privileged to have spoken at the launch of the COVID-19 tracker app, the GH COVID-19 tracker app. Okay. Now, I'll tell you something that some think tanks had said and some IT gurus had said about that app. But first, take a listen to the vice president.
Fellow Ghanaians, it is really an honor to be part of this unique launch of the COVID-19 tracker app for Ghana today. Let me first of all commend the Honorable Minister for Communications, Honorable Mrs. Ursula Owusu-Ekufo, and her team for the hard work that they have done on this app and making it possible for us to launch it in the shortest possible time. Of course, the latest figures tell us that some 1.7 million people have been infected by the coronavirus, and about 107,000 people have died as a result. And this has affected almost all countries in the world, and this is taking place just over the last 6 months. In Ghana, our country recorded its first case of COVID-19 on March 11th. Within a space of 1 month, we've gone from 1 case to 566 cases with 8 deaths as at yesterday, April 13th. The impact of this pandemic on humanity and the world economy is enormous, and our country, Ghana, is of no exception. Businesses are shutting down, workers are losing their jobs, and the lives of our dear ones are being taken away. As the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has said, our approach in combating COVID-19 is going to be driven by science and data.
I hope you remember the argument of science and data. And the argument had been made that we were spending so much on the app. At that time, Mr. Bright Simmons of Imani Africa had raised questions and said that, look, Google and the app stores were not accepting such applications. And so how were we going to launch an app, so much money with all the fanfare, pomp and pageantry, and not be able to use the app, the citizens? The Vice President of Education with the Minister for Communications, Ursula Owusu-Ekufo, had made a strong statement, including the Health Minister, Honorable Ajima Menu, who both are MPs. Ursula Owusu-Ekufo is MP for Ablekuma West, and our Minister for Health is MP for Doma Central. They had made a strong case for the COVID-19 app, which we had launched. On that occasion, Shatawale was there. He came to perform at a virtual concert. Kwame Eugene was there. He performed at the virtual concert. Diana Samoa was there. He performed at the virtual concert. Great Ampon was there. Fancy Gadam was there. And a couple of others. Now, we spent money. We connected with them, science and data. But on Tuesday, when the Vice President spoke about his digitalization agenda and the success story, he didn't talk about the COVID-19 app. Now, my question is, why didn't we talk about the COVID-19 app? Because COVID-19 is still around, and especially for a government that blames all its failings to be able to achieve the promises and to be able to hit the targets and what have you, the Vice President shouldn't have missed the COVID-19 app, which he launched, which he called a top-notch app, which was praised by many people, which became the topic of the day. Did the COVID-19 app die an unnatural death? Is it still working? How, for example, has the COVID-19 app, which was launched, how has it helped in our fight against COVID-19? Because remember, we're told that the COVID-19 app will help to track individuals. It will help in contact tracing and enhanced contact tracing. We spent money for it. We had it on television stations. It was beamed live. And anybody in TV productions would tell you that it costs money to beam stuff live. And to have no less a person than the Vice President of the Republic who spoke to the nation on Tuesday but refused to talk about such a great initiative. Mind you, COVID-19 is still around. So why didn't the Vice President talk about COVID-19? I'll show you something in a bit. Danny, open the folder for me. And let me tell you, on that same occasion when the Vice President was telling us about cameras and telling us about some of the things that we have not been able to achieve, his Minister for National Security, I'm saying that because the President was out of the country, his Minister for National Security, Honorable Kandapa, was in Parliament quoting contrary figures to the numbers of cameras that we have installed. So now, and he blamed that on COVID-19. I want to tell you, maybe you go to the Bank of Ghana's website and then check out what our domestic revenue looks like. But this is a report by dailyguidenetwork.com. Dailyguidenetwork.com. Let that sink in. It says GRA exceeds 2020 revenue target by 2.5 billion amid COVID-19. Okay, now it says the Ghana Revenue Authority says it exceeded its revenue target for the fiscal year of 2020 despite the challenges posed by coronavirus. So we got more money. And it cannot be said that we were not able to achieve these things because we didn't have money. We raised more money. Now, it also says, Acting Commissioner General of the GRA, Reverend Amishadai Owusu Amoa, made this known to the media at a press soiree held on Friday, January 22, 2021 at Alisa Hotel in Accra. I didn't put this there. This was put up there. Now, key question that I'm asking this morning is this. Why was the Vice President silent about an application that he himself had launched and had been so proud to say it was going to help us in our science and data enterprise in trying to trace and lead the virus? Remember, the Vice President said the virus has had its own way and the virus was moving very fast and we needed to be ahead of the virus. So now if we're going to be ahead of the virus, we had launched this application. And guess what? Dafia Makpo, Roxy Dafia Makpo, MP for Southdown, he had indicated that this COVID-19 tracker app had cost us a whopping 1.4 million Ghana cedis. That's what he said. He said it on Peace FM. The Minister for Communications on that occasion had refuted the claims made by Dafia Makpo. But you see, when I say what you're wearing is blue, and you say what you're wearing is not blue, it is not blue, then you must tell me whether it is green, yellow, or black. So when an MP says you spend 1.4 million Ghana cedis on a COVID-19 tracker app that the Vice President had been silent about on Tuesday while he was talking about his digitalization agenda, then the Ministry of Communications that organized that forum for the Vice President to launch the COVID-19 tracker app with Shatawale, with Ampon, with Kwame Eugene, with Dinah Samoa, with Fancy Gadam, should be able to tell us how much it costs the taxpayer, because that money is not from their pocket. And the essence of democracy is because all of us cannot rule at the same time. We have elected people to manage our affairs. Once they manage our affairs, it behoves on them to give us accountability. I'll share a very final quote with you before we go. A very, very final quote. Something that the Vice President had said, and I hope I find it quickly before we go. Something that the Vice President himself has said on Tuesday about accountability. Take a look at this. Now, the Vice President said, what are the elements of this new system for digital transformation we want? This is the Vice President speaking. Now, look at point 3. He said, a system that is transparent and promotes accountability, discipline, and trustworthiness. A system that is transparent, promotes accountability, discipline, and trustworthiness. So on this occasion, Mr. Vice President, good morning to you, sir. I'm asking you respectfully, why did you not talk about the COVID-19 tracker app that you had led the Ministry of Communications to launch, that you said you were elated about, that it was going to help us in our COVID-19 fight, in the science and data of it? Why didn't you talk about it? There's a question of accountability. Did you forget about it? Was it an oversight? Did your speech writers do you in? Or would you want to come again, sir? Because it does appear that you are in a certain comfortable lead in trying to do your own appraisal of your digital agenda. Good morning to you, sir.